So welcome. My name is Anna Bevan Gravely with the North Carolina Free Enterprise Foundation, and I'm joined by Lee Haywood, who's a candidate for the 6th District in Congress. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a small business owner. I've lived in North Carolina about 45 years. Both my parents are from Charlotte, and they moved around a little bit. I was originally born in New Jersey. There's an accident of birth. My parents were moving around quite a bit at that time, but I consider myself a North Carolinian. They're both from Charlotte, and they eventually moved back here and settled in Greensboro, and I've been living here over 45 years. So like I said, I consider myself my wife might disagree with me because she's a Fayetteville native, but I consider myself a native North Carolinian. I've been involved in politics about 10, 12 years. I started with the Tea Party, and back when Barack Obama came on the scene and stated that he was going to dramatically change America, and a lot of us got involved with the grassroots movement, and eventually I got really involved with the Republican Party here locally. I've been a Republican since 1980. So I was a Republican way before I was a Tea Partier. The first person I voted for was Ronald Reagan. I'm a Reaganite. I'm a Reagan Republican. And I'm very proud of that. And now I'm a Trump Republican, and I'm very proud of that as well. And so I've been active, really active. There again, for most of my life, my adulthood, yes, I voted every election, but I was never really involved in politics. I read the paper. I still do, front to back every day. I'm a news junkie, but I was never really involved with the party up until about 10 or 12 years ago. And like I said, I got involved with the Tea Party and the Republican Party. And for the past I worked my way up through the ranks, and for the past 2.5 years, I've been 6th District Chair, Chairman of the 6th Congressional District. And when they changed the districts late last year, my friend Mark Walker, Congressman Walker, decided it was time for him to pursue other avenues. And I went back and forth with him and said, well, God's tapping me on the shoulder for this, and he's telling me to run. And Mark said, if you run, you have my support. And so here I am. It's a tough task ahead of us. They have really changed the district here. It used to be a R+5 score rating, and now it's a D+18. We're the 6th District is now the proud owner of colleges such as A&T, Greensboro, Bennett College, GTCC, High Point University, Wake Forest University, Winston-Salem State University. We have around 8 colleges and universities, and the voters that come along with them, they tend to lean liberal. So I've got my work out in front of me, but I knew what I was getting into, and I picked. I don't know why God told me to pick. Like I said, I'm not the most religious person, and I'm not the most godly person. I was raised Southern Baptist. I know there is a God, and when He's tapping you on the shoulder, you better listen. And He told me to do this, and I'm going to give it my best, and I'm in it to win. And I'm in it every day, knee deep, and it doesn't help with this pandemic going on, but everybody's in the same boat. It's sort of equalizing my competition as well as my campaign as well. So it brings us all on the same playing field, I guess. But here I am running for Congress. Never thought I do want to back up just a minute. I quit school in the 10th grade. And got my GED, immediately got my GED, went to work, and I've been working ever since. And I'm a blue-collar salesman. I sell industrial supplies, but I've had many, many jobs over my lifetime, and I'm very proud of my work ethic, and that has allowed me to live a comfortable life. And I get up every morning, go out and hit the pavement day after day, and that has allowed me to survive the occasional recession, and now this pandemic. I'm sure we'll pull through it just fine. So, but I am only in America where somebody can quit school in the 10th grade and go out and give it his best shot and work, can that person eventually run for office for the 6th Congressional District? And in November, it's going to be Donald Trump, Tom Tillis, Lee Haywood on the ballot. And if I think about it long enough, I sort of tear up.
Yeah.
It's only in America,
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you so
that's my
much.
story.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing. I think you
Sure.
definitely covered the first question about
Yeah.
owning a business or being in management in a business.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that. I'll go straight
Sure.
into the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that the current level of federal and state taxation on businesses is too high, too low, or just about right?
Well, I'm not a big tax and spend guy. It's always going to be too high for me. There again, government needs money to take care of the necessities, and I think we all understand that. It's the superfluous spending that drives us conservatives crazy. I would say that I'm a little bit disappointed. I was part of the movement that back in 2010 that helped take over the North Carolina state government. A lot of us were involved, and it was a group effort. There again, it goes back to the Tea Party, and we took over state government after 140 years of incompetent liberal control. And they immediately started, like gangbusters, lowering the tax rate. And I was so proud to be part of that movement. And for some reason, they stopped. They got to a certain level. I think the individual income tax now is 5.25%, I believe, and they took the corporate tax rate. I think it started off. Did my research last 6.9, and it's now this year it's gone to 2.5. They should be proud of themselves. My one gripe is, why are they stopping? I mean, let's take it down to zero. If I was king of the world and king of North Carolina and king of America, I would go to a flat tax, or I guess I think probably the system that would work best is a national sales tax as well as a state sales tax. And that, of course, you run a risk of being double taxed, the creeping income tax being brought back in. But
Right.
we would have to do some kind of a amendment process to make sure that doesn't happen. But I think it's the only fair way for everybody to pay their share. And I think it's the best way to safeguard against excessive taxation. You tax people exactly what they need. Well, the government would tax us precisely what they need to survive, I think, in my opinion. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I
I
think that's great. That's a great answer. Yeah, I think you
okay.
hit it on exactly what I have a great impression of your feeling about taxes, which is awesome.
I don't like taxes. I don't like, especially income taxes. They're arbitrary. They're usually staggered, and it penalizes the people that really are accomplishing things in this world. The doers. It really penalizes them. And yeah, I understand. I've been broke many times in my life. I mean, I always bounce back from being broke, but I understand people going through that are going through hard times. But I think the way the tax system is set up now, it punishes the doers in this country and state.
Yeah. So do you feel it is appropriate for state or local government to offer incentives to private businesses in consideration of locating, expanding, or conducting business in a specific location within the state?
No, I don't. And there again, most conservatives don't like it. It's just instinctively. It goes against our grain, and and usually there again, it's patently unfair. I would be more for it if these local governments would offer incentives to the small businessmen, the entrepreneurs that are just starting up. I think that's a fair process. These large companies, the holy grail auto companies that everybody's chasing after, they don't need our money. Let them survive on their own, go out and spend their own money and produce these or construct these plants. They've got plenty of money to do that with. Let's help these small business owners, these entrepreneurs, get up and running. And in the long run, I think that the dividends will be much greater than giving these incentives to these large companies that don't need it nor deserve it. I don't know. We're not. It's always going to happen. That's been out of the bag now, and these incentives are going to keep going. I don't see any way to stop it, except everybody talks about the Commerce Clause of the Constitution. It would have to be on a national level and made a level playing field to where it's illegal for these local governments to do that sort of thing. But even then, I don't think a federal court would allow it to stand. But I think if you would tie the Commerce Clause of the Constitution in there somehow, it might have a chance to pass. But I'm against it. I'm sure most conservatives will agree with me on that. But how do you stop it? I don't have an answer. It's ingrained in our system, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for that answer. The next one is, describe your personal opinion as to what the key principles of a free enterprise economic system are. And if elected, how would you work to uphold those principles?
Well, I guess I sort of struggled with this one. I guess the government's role, I guess the principles of a free enterprise system, unfortunately, the way we've come about it here lately, or what has actually come about, is we've had too much excessive government regulation. And we don't really have a free market system here anymore. It hasn't been for years and years and years. So it probably started eroding right after the founders started the country. I mean, automatically we started regulating this and regulating that. We truly do not have a free market system anymore. There's a regulation for this, regulation for that. I would say the basic tenets is a level playing field. Left to the true free market would be the best. My only answer to that. I really struggled with this one. I couldn't really come up with a proper answer. Key principles, but I like to adhere to free market principles, and to do that, we really need a level playing field. And unfortunately, the government has not held its end in that endeavor.
Yeah. And so this one is kind of actually pretty timely, considering we are in, when we're recording today, we're about to start our statewide shelter in place at 5 p.m. And so this question is, in your opinion, what is the appropriate balance in the scope of federal and state regulatory requirements on business? What, in your opinion, is the best way to balance appropriate protections without impugning business or economic vitality?
Well, there again, it goes back to that. I would say "live and let live" is the best slogan I would have for that. If you're a business owner and you're not hurting somebody, you're not taking their property, you're not stealing their intellectual property, you should be left alone to your own devices. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and if you don't survive in this area, start something up over there. I mean, as long as there's a level playing field, and I think that would be the proper role for the government, is to provide a level playing field. I think there is a role for the government to play that role. But I think like I said, over the years, the government has increasingly become like a nanny state over businesses. And I think as long as you're not hurting somebody or taking their property, you should be left alone. Now, there again, we're allowing these foreign countries to do business over here, and I think that probably hits your next question here. But I think Donald Trump has really done a good job as far as setting these countries straight and trying to level the playing field for our companies over here domestically to compete.
Yeah. And going into the next question, if elected, what will your top 3 priorities be relative to promoting a strong business climate in North Carolina?
All right. There again, fair or a flat tax, preferably a national sales tax, and even both a state sales tax and a country national sales tax. I would love to. There again, our General Assembly, back when they took control, we took control. they started the process of sunsetting some of these excessive regulations and reviewing these regulations, and I think they've got away from that too. That would be my next step, is on a national level, and I think Trump has done a pretty good job on that as well. But take it to the next level and get rid of these excessive regulations and review them on a regular basis. And there again, it goes back, and my third would be fair trade, especially as it relates to China. We have got to bring that country back under control. I remember, you're not as old as me, but I remember as a young person back then. I remember Nixon going to China. Even then, I was in my mid-teens probably, and I said, this is not good. This is a communist country, and how are our companies going to compete with a heavily subsidized workforce over there in China? So my third, as far as foreign policy, would be for people to do business with the United States, it has to be a level playing field, and they have to prove that they are not subsidizing their industries to our unfair advantage against our companies over here. And I guess that was my
just on your second point about reducing regulations in the climate that we're in with COVID-19 and a lot of private sector solutions being worked on, and the president reducing or easing some of these restrictions on businesses. Do you see that as being a positive thing? Do you think it should continue? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it goes both ways. I mean, this is extreme overreach as far as the government's concerned. Now, I understand it. And I'll tell you right now, if it was anybody other than Trump, I would be raising Cain about it. But I trust him more than I do anybody else. And if he says we've got a shelter in place, I'm willing to do it. There again, I qualify as an essential business, so I'm still able to go out and call on my accounts. And I'm not today, but tomorrow I've got 2 or 3 I'm going to go call on. But we stand 6 feet apart. We do as
CDC guidelines.
We try to do all that, and to the best of our ability. But that's an extreme overreach as far as the government. Whether or not this is going to carry forward, I hope it's not setting a precedent. Hey, we're going to tell you what to do with your life. But to your point, on the plus side, yes, we are. The government has partnered with companies like Walmart, and doing the testing out in their parking lots, and getting these pharmaceutical companies to quickly get these testing kits to market, and they're again loosening up the regulations that probably shouldn't have been there to begin with. The FDA is probably one of the most powerful agencies in our country, and I think the FDA is responsible for many deaths that might not have occurred if some of these experimental drugs had been allowed to get to market quicker and sooner. With that being said, we're in uncharted territory. I hope it all works out. We're going to be looking back at this 10 or 20 years from now. You're going to be telling your kids about you remember the country being shut down, and they're going to look at you like you're crazy. And we're going through extraordinary times, and I think it's all going to sort it. I think this is the greatest country God has put on the face of the earth. We're very fortunate to live here, and I think we're going to pull through this just fine. And what we're doing nationally with a shelter in place and everything that's going with it is, I think, we're going to learn from it, and the next time this happens, we'll handle it even better. Now, as far as the toilet paper famine, I can't figure that one out. I don't think we'll ever figure that one out. I mean, good Lord,
that seemed to have happened very quickly. Very quickly. The internet has been at its best. Yeah.
I just don't know what to say about that. But I guess the government where they have the national oil reserves. Now they'll have the national toilet paper reserves just for this. They'll have toilet.
You live and you learn.
Stored in some area out in Colorado somewhere. But I think we're going to learn from this. And I think, like I said, if I think we're very fortunate that that people are alive today that are knowledgeable and willing to make sacrifices, the healthcare workers and so on and so forth that are going to see us through this.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Well,
I think everything's going to be just fine. I hate that the people are going to die though. That's sad. That might normally have succumbed to something like this, but that's the worst part of it, obviously.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for spending time with me and
Thank you.
sharing your thoughts on the business community in North Carolina with the NC3 audience. Before we wrap up our interview and our time together, where can our community and our group of people really find out more about you and get to know you better?
Thought you'd never ask. There's that right there.
You're so prepared.
I just got them in last week, and here you go.
Wow.
Well, it's backwards, and that's not showing up right. It's backwards.
Oh no.
All right, www.leehaywood.com. That's my website. My Facebook is Lee Haywood for Congress, Lee for NC. My Instagram is lee.haywood the number 4 NC, and Twitter is @1haywood. So
awesome.
That's where everybody goes to hook up.
Well, thank you very much, and stay safe and enjoy the rest of your time in this season, in this campaign.
No, thank you very much. Thanks for your time as well. Thank you.